Work May 1 through May the 6th, regular meeting. John made along the south path, all that is to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Voter invitation review, Thomas Bernard.
Mr. Bernard. Mr. Bernard. All right, gentlemen, with this, what we need to do tonight. Just open up for the board of BNR. Do not have anything yet. Notices should be going out this week, but it allows a time frame, window of opportunity. Need to open up tonight and then just recess until July the 1st or date in between there. We have
Motion to hold up.
I move we have this board even take the review, Mr. Chairman.
Those great records. All in favor, saying aye. All opposed,
Okay, the board will need to take the oath as the Board of Equalization and Review. So if you'll all repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith. I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a member of the Castle County Board of Equalization and Review, and that I will not allow my actions as a member of the Board of Equalization and Review to be influenced by personal or political friendships or obligations. So help me God. And I'll need everyone to sign so that we can turn it into the register of deeds that we did take the oath and that you are acting as the board of PNR for this year. Will they need to make a motion to recess or just state that they'll?
Motion, please. We recess the Board of Equalization and Review, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor, saying aye. Opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bernard. Yes, before you step out. Sure. Reevaluation notices are going out when?
We're hoping they go out in the end of the spring right now. We got a new software. And we haven't done reval on this, so we sent the flat file, to South Data this morning. And hopefully we'll have that all straightened out. And it'll go out, sometime this week.
Can you give us a ballpark average? How much value went up?
Around 38% overall.
Average of 38.
Yes, sir.
So half more than that, half less than that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
2 more, some will be a little less.
All right, good enough.
Average about 30 acres.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. When will they be available online? When those notices go out, so anything that's currently up there, so, right. In other words, when the notices go out, that's when. they'll come. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Went on the agenda to the public hearing. Stream setback.
Mr. Chairman, if we go ahead, have a motion to go into the public.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to go into the public hearing. I say, we move proper second, then we go to the public hearing. Was stream setback and the post input. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Yeah. It now sets it up.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Manager Mazzaros, and Attorney Johnson, thank you for having me. Does everybody have their email that I had sent out? I do have copies. So the following package before you is requesting changes to be made to the stream setback distances and text found in the HIDO, which is our high impact development ordinance. For those that are not aware, the high impact development ordinance categorizes commercial development in 4 classes based on the possible negative impact of their use. This categorization allows us to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of our citizens and to promote peace and dignity. So class 1 having the least impact and class 4 having the most impact. The standards within the ordinance shall allow for these developments while maintaining, again, the health, safety, general welfare standards of established residential and commercial areas in Casper County. So for the purpose of this ordinance, streams is noted as intermittent or perennial stream, pond, lake, or reservoir determined by the North Carolina Division of Water Resources. So intermittent meaning not year round, and then perennial year round. You should see water in that stream year round. So minimum stream setback distances are developed by the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. They give local governments the ability to increase if they feel necessary. These are the minimum distances that an industrial use can be from a stream. In early 2023, during a solar farm application, the planning board determined an unclear explanation on how stream buffers were applied and their setbacks. Section 1471 in the HIDO regulations and standards currently requires 100-foot setbacks for class 1 and 2 and 150-foot setbacks for class 3 and 4. Wording in the HIDO made it difficult to determine, for example, if 100-foot meant 50 on each side of the stream or 100 across the entire stream. The other situation that came forth was the fact that the development of the property could consume the entire property and perhaps a stream ran through the middle. Setbacks would be required on each side of the stream in that instance. The planning board compared other surrounding county ordinances as well as looked into the requirements set forth by the North Carolina DEQ. And we're proposing to change our setback distances and also propose to change the text to better clarify how the setbacks are to be measured. We're requesting to set our setbacks at the current requirements set forth by North Carolina DEQ and add the text stating the measurement applies to both sides of the stream. You'll see our requested setback changes on the following page, along with the text changes. You'll notice that in the stream setback column. So our consistency statement being pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160B, 604D, the Caswell County Planning Board finds that the attached amendment to the High Impact Development Ordinance is consistent with the Caswell County Comprehensive Plan because it seeks to encourage policies that assure a healthy environment for Caswell County. Furthermore, these regulatory changes are in line with North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality stream buffer setbacks and are in some instances stricter than Caswell County's current watershed protection. So I would like to go back up to H where it talks about stream setbacks. This is where we would make our text change. That is the second page that has the land use table. It says Caswell County watershed protection regulations may require a stream buffer setback, which is more restrictive. So we're asking for 50 foot on each side. So in essence, we're going back to 100. However, we're defining it better in our text. So 50 foot on one side and then another 50 foot on the next side. And this is to the area of operation of a industry. So in other words, wherever there may be anything involving that industry, it has to be 50 foot from that stream. That again is based on the minimum standards of North Carolina DEQ. However, if this piece of land is in a watershed, then it may require 80 foot. So it will trump the 50 foot on that. Just for information, Hyco Lake uses the 420 line. Our riparian buffer, which is Stony Creek watershed, requires a total of 80 foot. Most of these are 30 foot undisturbed, cannot touch them. And then 50 foot, you can actually plant. And then a watershed, again, is 80 foot also.
Class was the solar farm.
Solar farm is going to be a class 1.
Jason, those, that class 3 and 4, where you recommended the 75 feet. Is that, I know you said goes to, what the state requirements are. Is that 75 foot buffer requirement of the state for those type of industries?
50 foot.
50 is a state requirement.
Yes, sir.
Regardless.
Yes, sir.
75 is step up what your planning board recommends.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 75 on each side,
Is that measured from the edge of the stream bank?
top of the bank.
Okay.
Yes,
Now, what about if that parcel of land was not, the stream bank separated, or the other side belonged to somebody else? You just go with the 75 on the current
yes, sir.
side that they own.
Yes, sir. That's what happened is I think it was the Pelham Solar Farm that they were discussing several years ago when they come on board. The stream actually split the property. Therefore, there was industrial per se on each side. So this just better explains it in text also.
You tell us where this form's at that you're talking about. I know you want to do this in general. But do we have a farm set up already where we're 50 foot?
No. The Pelham Solar Farm is going to maintain what it had originally at 100 foot. They've already completed. This was supposed to be proposed to you, ladies and gentlemen, back in August or September of last year.
Well, the elephant in the room would be by decreasing the amount of setback, you're decreasing the amount of protection for the water in that stream. What is the risk that we do this and it has a negative impact on environmental concerns.
That is always a risk, even if we were to go 100 foot on each side. I am not so sure that the way we were determining in the past. Again, by explaining our text and being more precise in our text on how we measure. That would be what I'm after today, is actually changing to say each side versus the 100 foot. Is that 100 foot on the front side of the building and the rear side?
So the planning board has looked at this, this is what they recommend.
Yes, sir.
Is there any type of course, over a period of time, you probably will have solar panels get broken? And if the company takes them down, so they just lay them down there and this solar farm's on the side of the hill, going toward the creek, is there any hazardous materials whatsoever involved in those solar panels?
Probably more so the gas from the mowers, if there's any grass that needs to be cut leaking versus the actual solar panels. But I'm not going to attempt to answer that any further because I'm not knowledgeable on what solar panel contaminants may cause.
Or what they contain?
Or what they may contain.
Mr. White, you just reminded me of something. Our current county manager was working on this at one time. I had a discussion with him. But in the event that a solar farm, the life of it is over with, and the cleanup is left to be had,
Yes, sir.
what protections are in place that the county won't get stuck with that if it's excessive and the landowner walks away? They were talking about making all new applicants have a bond that would cover that. Where are we at on that? Do you know about?
A bond will be great. However, what we do have now is a decommissioning plan. The decommissioning plan is a contract between the county and the developer that states what cleanup efforts will be made and how the site will be left. There is also an agreement between the developer and the homeowner or the landowner. And that is also present. But anything that happens now through HIDO has a decommissioning plan, which is contracted and agreed.
Does the plan have teeth where we do not get stuck? Or taxpayers more to the point don't get stuck? Would it be wise to put a bond in place as a requirement for all new farms coming in?
I personally think a bond would be the
So
best.
if the company went bankrupt, that agreement would kind of be useless.
Yes, sir.
We'd have to go to the landowner. And then that's a whole nother battle. And
Yes, sir. I can refer that over to Mr. Johnson if he has any input on that.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The town of Yanceyville actually has a solar farm ordinance, which requires a decommissioning plan that Mr. Wellington mentioned, as well as a bond in place. It requires the solar farm company to keep a bond in place to cover the decommissioning of the project. So I remember being on the planning board and that was discussed as part of the HIDO and the solar farm ordinance. If that language isn't in there already, we could certainly make a recommendation to the planning board to review that if the board so desires.
Personally, think that would be a good idea. What do the rest of y'all think?
That would be. I don't have an issue with it. What?
I'd like to know what kind of contaminants might be, and it may not be any, I don't know. That's the reason I'm asking you, but I would like to know if there is any contaminants, hazardous materials that may be involved within the solar panel itself before I vote on this.
And I like to keep things simple, if at all possible. As far as these stream setbacks, personally, I would like for all of them to be equal. regardless of what the industry is.
Okay.
Where you've got class 1 and 2 at 50, class 3 and 4 at 75. I don't think that 25 feet either way would change anything as far as runoff goes to the street.
Okay.
I think they either need to all be 50, all be 75, or whatever number the board goes with. I think it would be just a little bit simpler, simplification of the guidelines.
Austin, if the rest of the board is in agreement, can you check on the bond issue, put that before the planning board as well for solar farm?
Certainly, Commissioner Dickerson, I'll be glad to.
Any more questions from the board? We need a motion for our closed session.
Mr. Chairman, we're still in the public hearing. Could you ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
Anyone in the audience have a need a motion for our public hearing?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hill, second by Freeman. All in favor, saying aye. All opposed? Yes, that's an open session. We probably need a motion that we approve it back. You want to tell me the next meeting?
If it's board pleasure, I'll come back with, new distances along with answering.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir. Public comments. So, share with it.
My name is Ronnie Carroll. I've been a resident of Castle County all my life, which I'm 69, so 69 years. And I run a business in the Castle County 86 Convenient Mart. And first of all, I'd like to thank the commissioners for allowing me to be here and to talk with y'all tonight. But I'd like to just express my concern about Sunday beer sales. I've been in business, like I said, for 47 years here. And the state requires 10 a.m. sales on Sunday morning. No earlier. But the commissioners years ago decided that the stores in the county not to sell beer until 12 o'clock. After Yanceyville City and Milton Incorporated, they decided that they would allow in their district or their territory that their stores could sell it at 10 a.m., which puts all the other county stores at a little disadvantage. And especially stores down towards some more that people are going to the lake, they want to carry some beverages with them. They gotta wait. In my case, I'm near the Virginia line, which they allow sales at 6 a.m. in the morning. So puts me at a big disadvantage, but I still have people there that want to get gas, their snacks, beverages, and ice, one-stop shop. But when they find out I can't sell them the alcohol, a lot of times they'll say, well, we're going to go somewhere and we can get it all in one place. So I lose money on sales. The county loses tax money. And I just think it ought to be all the same. 10 a.m. They allow hunting on Sundays now. They used to not do that. There's, the world around us is changing every day. Not necessarily saying it's a good thing, but it is changing. So I would like the commissioners consider allowing the stores in the county to have alcohol sales at 10 a.m. like the state requirement says they can do. Thank you.
Next on the agenda would be recognition.
Come back to you.
One, Mr. Chairman, like to recognize Leesburg Volunteer Fire Department. They had their 40th anniversary get together here back in the last month. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend 40 years, but like I mentioned, but more importantly, they have a new substation on the Leesburg end of the Ridgeville Road. This will enable Leesburg Fire Department to more adequately serve that area that is being served. Let's just say maybe it's being underserved, and I want to recognize them for making that step forward to help the county residents hopefully receive a little better fire protection and first responder protection.
Oh, nothing, Mr. Chairman, other than like everybody came out tonight.
Okay. We're going to move forward. To approve the agenda. Yes. All in favor, saying aye. All opposed? Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Rose. Second by who was the second?
I mean, he's
Okay, so motion made by Tim, second Rose, all in favor. Approving the consent agenda, saying aye. All opposed? Okay, next discussion item to terminate the regular early Sunday alcohol sale. Spot.
First of all, I'd like to apologize because my email trail from the State Liquor Enforcement Division is not in the packet. But this issue came up, one of the commissioners, it may have been the gentleman that spoke, was approached by a convenience store owner, asking why, Yanceyville, and we can't control Virginia and out-of-state issues, obviously, but asked why the rest of the county was at noon and Yanceyville was at 10. So we researched that. I actually reached out to our ABC board. I talked to Mike at the ABC store, and the ABC board actually met. In 2017, they passed a House bill known as the brunch bill. Most of the state has actually gone and adopted that countywide. There's 100 counties. I don't have the current count, but it's more than half. So that requires the county to pass an ordinance if they choose to do that 10 o'clock early sales or not. If not, it stays at the noon statutory time. So Yanceyville actually did have an ordinance passed. They're the only place in the county that's ever had a referendum on alcohol. So that means that Milton, the unincorporated areas, we never had a referendum. So if you were to adopt this, it would take effect on the entire county. And they would not have to opt in, but they could still choose to not be open. So like ABC stores by state are closed on Sundays. But the other entities within the county, all convenience stores, whether they're in the municipal or non-municipal areas, would be eligible to do this. The ABC board was meeting last month, and I had them discuss this. They did not want to provide a written recommendation. They said that should be at your discretion. So I guess where that stands is the decision, if you decide to do this, just pass the ordinance and adopt it. It'll take effect. If you choose not to, no action is necessary, and don't have to take any action, and that's it. So I don't really have any pros or cons. I mean, you heard from the gentleman that has been in business here. I presume, it would have some financial impact. If you have more questions about it or issues.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from the public?
So I personally haven't been approached about this. We presumed I might have heard from the clergy, some of the religious institutions in the county, but I haven't gotten any feedback on that.
This will be the first time it's really been made public, but
It is, I think, it could be a discussion item. You want to table it, bring it back, get some more input. I do know that a lot of the places within the state adopted that when that took effect. I don't know what their reasoning for that was. I did have an email trail, and I could forward that to you tomorrow if you want to think about more. That has secretary that's the budget division person from ABC, and it spelled out all kinds of reasoning and why this is permitted and how they went about adopting it. And I think I was just trying to answer the question as to why Yanceyville allowed it and county didn't. I don't. It's weird, every state's a little different, every jurisdiction's different, it's at your discretion. You know, when I first came to the state, they used to sell alcohol in the grocery stores, same places. It's just different.
Did I understand you correctly that if the board decided to approve this ordinance, that the local store, be it Mr. Carroll or anybody else, if they chose to wait, still wait until 12, they had an option. This will not make them sell it at 10 o'clock. They didn't want to.
Correct, sir, and they could choose not to even be open on Sundays or whatever day of the week they choose not to operate. But if we adopt the ordinance, it would allow them to begin selling. We just have to, if we get approval of this, we'd file it with the state, and then that would allow liquor enforcement to know that they are allowed to do that.
They have the option to do it, but they're not required.
Correct.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, it's, Mr. Carroll approached me probably a month ago, concerning this matter. Once he did, I reached out to the county manager, county attorney, and asked them to look at what would it entail to allow the business owners in the county to sell alcohol. I went back and looked, and what I call mom and pop stores, family owned. You got 86 Convenience Mart, you got Sam's number 2, Page Mart, Teddy Smith's Grocery on Cherry Grove Road, Mall Barker's in Samora, Oakview Grocery, Leesburg Grocery, Casville, I think, has got 2 stores, and Chilton's on Highway 150. All of those are not franchise stores. They're not up in the oil company stores. They're not, they're mom and pop business. And like Mr. Carroll said, he felt like the county stores were kind of somewhat being punished that if they couldn't sell and somebody could ride right on the answer, did the same thing. So what I told them I would do is what I did. I reached out to the county manager, county attorney, to get the information and bring it to the board so the board could discuss it in the board. I told Mr. Carroll that the board would have to vote just to allow this or not. Me personally, in my opinion, if they can come against pulling my, I could be stopped 2 miles up the road to the stores in the county.
Something like in Samoa, they stop there and get gas from going to the lake, the boats, but can't run to it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look at that. If I'm in church on Sunday morning, I'm in church by 10 o'clock, so well, most people going to church, they're at church. I just looked at it from the aspect of the county business. So, why not allow them, get everybody on the same time frame, make everything equal across the board.
Do you know what surrounding counties are doing?
Then, yeah, I have the contacts for the liquor enforcement, I can find that out.
Well, I'm fairly certain Alamance is at 10 o'clock because I had one store on hit me up about 12 months ago about this same issue. So it was hurting him tremendously on Sunday morning.
I mean, I feel this way, if you want to do it, you don't have to do it.
That's
And so, I'll be all for it. Pleasure.
Well, I'll make a motion to promote the sales at 10 o'clock.
That's also, got a motion to make a second road to open sale at 10 o'clock. Y'all heard the motion in the voice. Going to move. All in favor saying aye. All opposed?
No.
No.
2 noes and 4 ayes. So the motion passed. Did you get that?
Yes.
Thank you. This is a board of committee.
So the next item on the agenda is board and committee appointments. We have two committees that have vacancies currently. One is the California Regional Economic Development Commission. Laura, I hope I say this right, Charlo is resigned as of April 15th. We did receive one applicant, Ellen Claggett. Her application is attached. Do you want me to do these as two items or just one? Would you like me to do this as two different items or just one item?
Well, we go by one, but we use one and go to the next one.
So that is the first appointment request. We did only receive the one application and our applicant is in your packet.
That's on the economic development.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion to take Ellen Claggett.
a second it. Motion been made, second, moved and seconded, vote Ms. Cracker in for economic development. You heard the motion in question. All in favor saying aye. All opposed? Good. All we go to the next one.
Okay, the second committee is the Piedmont Triad Workforce Development Board. So the current member, Nikki Turner, she hasn't been attending and we tried to reach out to her and she has not been contacted with. So when you're not attending the committee for a prolonged period, we try to announce it. So we did advertise that. Dr. Pamela Senegal, she's the PCC president. She is the only application received on this one. So her application is enclosed. So if you wish to consider that.
You said Dr.
Senegal.
Okay, we only got one application. Everybody, we just make a motion to accept it.
So moved.
Tim said, all in favor saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. That's it.
Updates.
Okay.
I have several updates for you tonight. The first one is the council sound system. The last item they're waiting on is a large speaker part of the system. That should be here on Wednesday. They are scheduled to start the work next week on the 13th. So assuming that they get that operational and working, it's possible that we could be back to the other facility on the 20th. I want to make sure before the agenda goes out that we know that that's working so that we can have a decent facility. So that's that item. They did reach out to us, the Division 7 engineer, regarding the Coach Square signage. So they were looking at the rumble strips and some other things like that. They're suggesting one of the things is larger stop signs. They were worried about the historical landmark poles. So they are reaching out to the town of Yanceyville and to the other entities to get those. Usually our emergency management team orders those, but that's just one update. I did also want to tell you that they finished the brick right before I came to this meeting, and they have the door ordered. The facility at Coach Square should be, the painters finished up today on the interior front half is still left. They should be able to clean it and get it reoccupiable for the entire thing behind that false wall, probably by the end of the week. The art gallery is going back in there on Wednesday, so she will be in there as of Wednesday. The courthouse invoice issue. Our maintenance director reached out to them contesting some of their bills recently. They did reduce the $3,500 bill to $1,400.
Is this related to the elevator?
From Cone. They did zero out of $4,000 on another to zeros. So we're still looking at some of the other options with that issue. Update on status of the audit. So Melissa's here tonight. And the reps that we usually have working with us from NCACC are not here this evening. But I do have a thorough update. If you want me to read that to you, would you like a thorough update or just kind of a brief update? And go through it. So the auditor testing, auditors have completed all the on-site testing for both fiscal years 22 and 23. They provided the county with final lists of questions and additional documentation that they needed on April 21st. Finance staff, along with John Sharp from NCACC, have been actively working with the auditors on any outstanding items. The fiscal year 22 status, they received the trial balance for fiscal year 22 this morning, well, yesterday afternoon. There are still some remaining entries, but the numbers are 95% done. The biggest outstanding piece for fiscal year 23 is to complete the bank reconciliations for the main checking account. Fiscal year 23 trial balance is 50% done. So when they get the trial balance done, that's when the auditors are able to go through all your stuff and basically do their findings. So the 23 balance is half complete, but they can't finalize that until all the bank reconciliations are complete. The current estimate for completing fiscal year 22 audit is early June and June 30th for fiscal year 23. So they're going to be very consecutive and rapid. We're hoping to get the June 22 fiscal audit completed before June is up, because that allows us to open title and do our budget in the active system rather than can't have more than those amount of years open. So if we can close this out, we can activate the budget system and actually go live before we do the budget next year's budget. Preparation for the 24 audit, because ironically, you receive that notice, the electronic notice, you get that we're delinquent on the 23 audit. That's just an automated generated email that goes out. As staff has worked on the 22 and 23 issues, applicable 24 issues have been corrected and have provided head start on the 24 closeout. So because we've been in audit so much, they're already working on the 24 stuff so that we're going to be ahead of schedule. There's still a high level of confidence that the 24 audit will be completed timely. And then you saw the notice. And then for tonight's budget item, my intention was to hand you a budget this evening. And then we would, have some discussion. And then in the next several Mondays, we would go through those departments and all that information. As you heard tonight, the tax department was here. The tax notices are generally mailed out in early March. That gives you the time to go through and process and do all of the budget revenue. It's impossible to give you a budget, no revenue estimates or predictions. I need to have the budget neutral rate. I need to have the estimated total valuation, which I was presented a tentative number of $2.645 billion, which is 38% above what the previous valuation was. So the revenue side of the budget is half of your budget. On the expenditure side, we have completed all of the department requests. Melissa participated in both of this. The whole finance department has been very helpful. The budget requests, we're entering those. We should be completed with that, I would hope, this week. So we should be able to get the expenditure side, but without having the revenues and all of the estimates, it's hard without the 22 or the 23 audit. To give you kind of an idea where we sit financially, in 22, we had a $1.9 million deficit that was used to balance from the reserve funds. Last year, they had a $2.4 million reserve. Well, if both years carry forward a fund balance of an increase, he didn't really use those amounts of monies, even though that was operational to supply those things you should have done in the budget. So if that's the case, we're fiscally pretty healthy. We're hoping that the trial balances look good. But that really impacts how we do the next year's budget, determining if we actually have a surplus or a deficit. So I think at this point, our best intention is to give you a completed budget, unless you choose to go through and do just the expenditure side. And we can do that. We can start in on the departments. We could start having presentations and talk about the requests. Or if you prefer, I'm estimating we really want to try to get that by the 20th. In past years, they always gave it to you June 1st. That's the statutory deadline of when you have to do it. We were trying to do that a month early to give us a lot of time. We still have till June 30th to do all of the budget meetings. It's not ideal. We'd like to try to do that before June. But I think at this juncture, with the issues that we have, I don't have an answer. The tax director is probably becoming impatient with me because every week I go over and I say, when is it getting mailed? And it's out of their control. They have turned it over and I feel that's what he says. I don't know. Want deeper answers? I do have Melissa here from finance. She has been a godsend in doing the audit work. So we have not had her doing it next year. I think it's just as vital to close out the audits and get us on track as it is to create next year's budget. Because without those numbers, it's kind of like telling you to go buy a vehicle, but you don't know what your budget is for what you need.
Isn't that what we did last year and the year before?
So I was not here, but yes, I think that is the methodology.
Is that not what we did?
We had revenues. When we presented the budget to you guys last year, I thought.
We would still have revenue this year.
We don't know we don't know the rates from the tax department.
Okay,
So
I
it's,
mean, you could base it on last year's, but
and that's what
that's not
we
a
did.
very accurate way to do it.
Am I wrong? Just told Mr. Rose and myself, this will just be our second we've ever been through. But last year, didn't we just go through expenses for several meetings and not revenues?
Yeah.
It was a different budget than what we usually have.
Was it? Okay, okay. So, I mean, like I say, this is just my second.
This would probably be to us too.
Okay, okay.
Was there a contract between with this, rebound company?
so I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, so to speak, but the explanation I was given was it's not changed companies.
All right,
It's the same company that was originally contracted, and the employee that they have doing our reeval basically had some issues and walked away, and then they found this out and it delayed them and recourse.
the reason I'm asking that is, I mean, I would like you to look, see if there was a contract, if there was a certain date that stuff was going to be submitted to be sent out, because this is pushing us back. I mean, yeah, until these things get out, because once they get out, then you got to make notification here, all of that. I'd like to see if there was any deadline or any dates that said we will have this to go out, at this certain time. And I understand, things happen. But when things happen in companies, and sometimes, if there was a deadline, I would love for them to look at possibly compensating us a little bit for the amount of time we've had to wait.
So, I mean, we do have contracts and there is a budget in and out for each of those years. It's hard to, whether we performed or didn't perform with our contractor, it still puts us in a very peculiar situation to not be able to formulate what we need to happen.
The second thing I was going to get to is, Coast Guard. Stop signs are great. That's not going to stop your problem. If they're running from somebody, stop sign is not going to stop them. I would like to see some type of barrier up there that will stop these cars from going into the building. Stop sign is great to look at. If you want to change it, that's fine, but that is not going to stop that car from going. And that's not going to say, oh, bring your sign on it. So, I mean, I would like to see something out there, because I've got the feeling that the insurance company at some point in time is going to say, we're tired of paying, and they're going to cancel.
That's our intention as staff to propagate that. If it is state right of way, so our recommendations still have to go before them for.
What about the sidewalk?
So the right of ways, as good as that, it goes all the way to the doorway in the facility, so. We can't just put things in and even if we do, we have to request an encroachment. That is our intention to try to work with them.
I mean, I think that we can look at it, approach it with the state as far as a, safety issue. I mean, that would have happened 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Personnel and that, they would have been met.
We'll continue.
I think that's the only thing that's gonna stop it is something out front. I don't think the loan strips are gonna do it, something to stop something. I think the last few times it's happened, it's been because somebody was engaged in law enforcement. I think that's
Yeah, it's not a good situation.
pretty much all I have. Thank you.
And we have a question.
Yeah, I'm like Tim over here, it's just say a little bit. Work with me here on this because I'm just. When you say you have to have these numbers, are you figuring on the 38% that he's estimating as the number that you're using as your revenue? Or are we still looking at revenue neutral?
So their job is to give you the revenue neutral rate, to give you the total assessed valuation of all property in the county, to give you the revenue from all the vehicle taxes, all of the real property. They give us an estimate of what our budget to work with is gonna be from all the new cars here and all the new houses and all the new valuations. So that's not just, it's not a status quo like what we had 8 years ago. The county has grown and there's new payers, there's new inventory. So they give us kind of a balance of here's what's grown and here's what's happening to keep us at that budget neutral. And the budget neutral, it's a mandated requirement that they give us. But then going back and calculating, we use that in the formula to calculate the mill levies. But the mill levy is created off of what your approved budget is versus what the property value is. It's calculated to determine the mills. So we get into, all kinds of things such as one of the things in our budget proposal is the school district tax, right? For 3 years, they have not taken, last year it was 1.9 cents. But that's about $350,000 a year that the voters here passed a referendum. It's coming out of the general fund to pay for the school district issue. So when you remain budget neutral, all of those funds are not being enhanced to the school district. They're coming out of county projects. So that's just one small issue. To do the budget, you really need to see where are the departments, what's the growth. We want to get into the departments, small things like park and rec. They have 30% more kids. They get a $30 t-shirt and hat, and the expenditures there don't go down. To provide the services we do, we need to figure out what that costs, and our job is to present you a recommended budget. Job isn't to present you the feasible best budget for the taxpayer and say, what is the bare essential quality services that we have today? And how does that look moving forward? Because our team could whittle it down and keep taxes real great, but then 10 years down the road, the county has to have a major tax increase because of deficiencies. That's not being a good steward on our end. So we have to try to work with our team to do that. There's a lot of mandates, especially out in all the state and federal departments we do with TSS, Health and Human Services. There's a lot of things that are budget neutral to us, like some of their operations get federal state grants that have increased. Our budget's going to increase, but that doesn't necessarily mean those things impact us in a negative way that we pay for them all. When they match us, like there's a 90% state federal match, we only pay 10% for those increased services. So instead of paying for all the services, we pay for a portion. So we've been working through all the departments, and I think we have it whittled down to where we just need to come down and get that all written up. But we need to have that revenue side to write the narratives to explain all of the details of how it works together.
So my job is to look for the taxpayer.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the opposite of what you're saying.
My job is to give you the best recommendation, and our staff is going to do that. That's the political element of what taxation is in this county. So if I tell you we should cut half of this sheriff revenues and the service level decreases, I can give you that recommendation, but it doesn't mean it's going to be good for the future. It's a political thing in nature. My team's job is to give you the true needs and to keep this county moving forward and invest in the future. I just keep things real cheap for everybody, and then 10 years from now, they get a 30% tax increase just to operate. I didn't do my job. If you can show me where the county electric bills should be at the neutral rate where we don't have increases, I say, where do you cut to pay that? That's your job. It is not an easy job. My job is to give you the best recommendation that our staff get. So I will make sure you get that. It's never easy to pallet those decisions, whether you live here or Beverly Hills or anywhere in the country. Nobody likes to pay more for services. But that's the cost of doing business, and all of our lives, and food's not cheap, travel's not cheap.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Food's not cheap, travel's not cheap, and the people paying the taxes are under the same burden that you're talking about everyone else is sharing.
You know, a lot of those folks have gotten decent salary increases and kept up. This county hasn't kept up, so it's my job to show you that, explain where we sit.
Please step up to the plate and get us what we need to start the budget process, because it sounds like it's gonna be a long, seamless process going through it, because I think your folks focus solely on increasing the budget. And there are those of us that believe in protecting the taxpayers, so we're gonna have to find some kind of common ground, and it's not gonna be a rubber stamp procedure.
Mr. Scott, did he give you a time? Have he gave you a time that they don't have the thing ready?
I don't know what their timelines are looking like. That's why I have concerns with getting the revenue side. I think when our side is completed with the expenditures, we're gonna have to start moving forward with the expenditure side and not have the revenue yet. It's not ideal, but I think we're gonna have to do that.
Did you say the letters would go out Wednesday? This week. Well, hopefully if they go out this week, he should have all those numbers. The letters go out. The other thing is, and I will address more with, if, I know we meet on Mondays or whatever, but, you know, I have no problem meeting another day during the week if we see that we need to meet. Just food for thought. I mean, I know it's a lot we gotta work through and may take more than just one day.
I think we'll be again on 13th.
So we have been, you know, some of the team working on this is working all weekend, they're working late evenings. My intention is to get it wrapped up as soon as possible so that I can get it out to you. And then when that happens, to start having a series of meetings. I think it's safe to say the 20th, our next meeting. I wanted it to be this meeting as my deadline.
What about the 13th?
Well, that's the 13th.
Well, I recommended that we go to 20, because I'll be honest, I don't think I'm gonna get anything from the revenue side, and I still have part of my team working tomorrow and Wednesday. The association will be here all day Wednesday with me.
Do not think you can have the expense side done by the 13th.
I hope so. I'm not expecting to have it done by Friday.
My suggestion is we meet on the 13th, start doing.
Yeah,
Gentlemen, fair disclosure, I've been called out of town, I'll not be here 13th.
Yeah,
We won't take any, we won't take a binding vote on it like that.
sure.
I don't see why we can't start going through some, we don't have to vote on each individual one. I mean, we go through them and discuss them and.
I like to see what we got, and what needs to stay, and what needs to go.
I think we could meet on the 13th and discuss some, so we're already trained on the stuff. You would have somewhat in mind.
Yeah, we definitely have already have several things. We've been working, some of the issues we're gonna have is leasing and vehicles, capital projects. Some of the things don't really impact us, but there's still budget issues, some of the school projects, lottery funds, other funds, that doesn't impact budget. There is equipment and departmental needs that I think, you know, it's our job to present to you some of the equipment, state mandated equipment, dispatch center. Some of the departmental requirements that they're not asked, some of the CAPS things are transportation system, there's huge increases, but they come with revenues, so those are offset. Those aren't the ones I'm worried about. I'm worried about, you know, a couple of the staffing issues that we have.
Have you been in contact with the new superintendent yet?
He came by and provided their budget. The college has a large capital need. You know, to prioritize, you have to see all the requests and our recommendation. So I think, you know, even just our facilities, the HVAC systems in the county that we're responsible for, several of them, and I don't know what the status is with the Stone Creek Elementary, but it looks like they've never maintained this system ever. And it's 20 years overdue, and it's really hard to not approve a budget item when you're dealing with kids with no air conditioning or no heat.
So the school and PCC both have submitted.
And they have, our building has been on there for several years, it's $196,000. Schools is $223,000.
Yeah, I don't even know, I'm just saying if they, I didn't want it to be where, they wait for the last minute. before I get in.
I just don't want you to be in a position where you have to hit the elevation.
It is correct with both. Meet on the 13th. Okay, you gonna meet on the 13th.
That was planned. I thought I've talked to John. Dealing with that.
I do want to get your tax director to do a public presentation about the mill levy, about the tax reeval. I mean, that's part of their role. So I would like them to do a presentation what that means to the taxpayer and the public and how they determine these things. I have reached out to the state and have some people at the commerce that can do that as well. But it's important to understand those things. So, and then, you know, some of the expertise with our lease program manager, some of those people probably need to get employed as well as department heads to justify their request.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, jumping on topic, and I apologize. Any update from the state, I tell about that price paid and the other.
So I have
Don't their work.
I haven't had an update since about a week ago. But I will follow up with that again. We've been communicating with them.
I would appreciate it because a lot of these, a lot of this coverage area, as I tell, was supposed to take care of in my district. I'm getting a lot of phone calls about it.
I get a lot and then I transfer them to NCBIT.
But I was elected to talk and that's what I'm gonna do. And I would love to get an update so that when they can get started.
There's a lot of questions, okay. You got anything else? Okay, we'll move on then to the update over the 30. Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, I mentioned at the last meeting that I would give you all an update on the county delinquent tax collection process. And since the last meeting, I've received 80 delinquent tax notices from the tax department. And I have a list here I'd like to pass that to you all. Yes. Members of the board, there's 80 delinquent tax files here. We did not receive them all at once. They were received in batches, and our office sent out letters to the delinquent tax owners as soon as these notices were received. So the list, as you can see, outlines the name, address, parcel ID number, and taxes owed. And then one of the more important parts is the far right column, which indicates the status. And as time goes on, there will be 4 classes of status. There'll either be paid, payment plan, bankruptcy, or the foreclosure process. So the status was updated last week from the tax office, and you should reach out to them tomorrow to get an update. But I would foresee over the next 30 days, most of these parcels will be paid or a payment plan. And then moving beyond that, if all efforts have been exhausted, then we'll move forward with the foreclosure process. So I plan on giving you all an update at least once a month. Just to keep you all in the loop.
Anyone have any questions for you?
I do. Is the Tony Smith listed on here, is the same Tony Smith running for commission?
Commissioner Dickerson, I could look into that. It appears there's an address here for 633 Burke Road, Pelham. I'm not sure, Chairman, Commissioner Dickerson, but I'll be glad to look into that.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Anyone else have any? All right, we'll move on. And commission comments.
A couple of things, Mr. Chairman, and I'm hesitant to bring both of them up. But, and I just want to throw them out there for the board to begin thinking about it. And like to wait until after budget time is over. Mr. Wallington was here tonight, county planner, talking about the changes to the high note. And I've been asked by some fellow citizens for the board to look at the high note classifications, maybe consider adjusting the classification of some of those businesses. Some of those that are in class 3 and 4, maybe they could be brought back to class 2. I can't give you specific names of businesses or types of business right now, but something I'd like for the board to look at. And the second thing, this came from county residents, county taxpayers as well, and I'm really hesitant to bring this up. They're complaining about deer hunting dogs, not rabbit hunting dogs, not coon hunting dogs, no other type dog, but a deer dog. They don't like it coming on their property when they're out in a tree stand hunting. They're fed up with it. I told them I'd get it in front of the board. That's what I'll do after July 1st.
I think the bravest thing I've heard sit here tonight.
Well, the fact of the matter, if I'm not mistaken, is that Castle County is the westernmost county that allows deer hunting with dogs. When you get to the Rocky Mountain County line, from there to Tennessee, it is not allowed. So folks that like to hunt with dogs from that part of the state, they get to Castle County, they can find somebody to let them hunt.
I think that subject came up a minute.
It has a lot of times.
It's a hot button. Doesn't be very hot, but it came up a lot of times. Discriminate dogs.
How does that affect James?
It wouldn't.
I don't know if the county, Mr. County Attorney, if the county can have an ordinance that said no deer hunting with dogs, would that encompass Castle Game Land as well?
I'll look into that, Commissioner Yarborough, but I'm inclined to say that the county doesn't have jurisdiction over the game, that's more of a state issue. I'll be glad to research that.
We also don't get any tax money off that land either, do we?
That's correct.
Hundreds of thousands of acres with the state owned.
18,000.
We receive 0 tax dollars.
17,000 somebody.
Well, Pitch said 18,000.
It's not like you said,
It's a hot button issue, it is.
I'm a dog owner. I've been one my whole life, and
It's not as bad as it used to be.
Oh, it's not. It's not. Because there's just not as much of it.
I mean, I've sat in the tree stand many days and had some dogs come up, but you know, I'm learning to live with, that's just me. That is a hot button topic. I think the last time we had it, I was on board, Mr. Chairman, you might have been, I think that one after.
Been on that quite a few times. You know, so they always said, if you're gonna stop one dog, stop them all.
Yeah.
But it can't. Okay, anything else?
No, sir, I've said enough.
Okay, let's go.
Well, be brave, man.
No, I put that there.
And that's the room that's been there before. How about you, Anthony? How about you, Miss? All right, then, I guess I don't know this. We go to the announcement of the upcoming event, May the 13th, 2024. Board Commission Budget Work Session at 5 o'clock at the McDonald's Library. That's on the 13th. We still got that. Okay. The next May the 16th, 2024, joint town meeting at 6 p.m. at the Thomas Day Nice in Milton. I will be out of town. I go out on the 15th to come out on the 20th. So y'all please go. I don't want to be there. Okay, May the 17th, 2024, was added to the day at the tower. It's at 10:30 AM to 6:30 PM. Electronic also is accepted. It's throwaway thing that is there. And I forgot to carry that to the church center, but I'll do that next. Okay. May the 2024 Board of Commission meeting and budget work session at 5 PM at the gun library. Anybody else have anything else? All right.
We were there.
Rick, all in favor saying aye. All opposed? Thank you.
Well, that's a lot.